Welcome to SMEX Ed. Class is in session.
I'm your host, Amanda King, and I'm here to teach anybody who wants to fucking listen how to have the audacity to say fuck it to societal standards and live their most authentic life. This podcast is dedicated to bringing the sexual conversations we have behind doors onto the main fucking stage. Because sex, masturbation, squirting, guess what? It is all normal. And by bringing these conversations to the forefront, we help people feel less alone in this world. We help them feel safe. We help them gain their power back. We help them step into their confidence and express themselves sexually in this world unapologetically. Because it takes fucking audacity to be your truest self. And we have a boatloads of audacity all up in this bitch. So let me ask you this. Are you ready for some epic shit? Good morning, everybody. Sorry for missing last week's podcast episode drop. Life happens. It was Thanksgiving week and it was a bit insane, but I apologize for not putting an episode out, but I wanted to make sure to put one out this week. And we're going to kind of veer off the topic of sex and kind of answering questions about sex. And I'm going to talk about the censorship that sex creators or sex educators or doctors face when it comes to social media, because it is a unbelievably frustrating experience to be trying to put out this educational information into the world and constantly be slammed with the amount of community guideline violations that we do when all we're trying to do is educate the world. So I want to talk a little bit about my personal experience, more specifically focusing on TikTok, but as well as Facebook and Instagram, because they have problems as well. And then I kind of want to talk about why we're getting hit with community guideline violations and why sex is considered such a ridiculously taboo topic, and how also it is hard to differentiate between sex educators sometimes and sexual content. So let's start with the idea of just talking openly about sex and how fucking hard it is. Sex has become such a fucking taboo topic in this world, which honestly floors me, right? Because we are all doing it. We are all experiencing it. We are all here literally because of sex. And it gets frustrating as a sex educator when I am trying to put information out into this world that is meant to help people and empower them and make them feel safe in their own bodies. And the world doesn't accept it. In fact, the world pushes against it, and it sometimes like villainizes it. That's actually a good word. It villainizes it. And sex has become a topic that so many people just want to keep behind closed doors, right? That's something that you talk about in private. You don't talk about sex out loud, which has made a lot of us feel very alone in this world and very scared and very nervous to ask the questions that we need to ask. My DMs are filled on a daily basis with the same question or the same form of a question over and over and over again. No matter what sexual scenario it is, what body part it is, what function of your being is, the ending question is always, is this normal? And that fucking breaks my heart. Only because 99.9% of the things that you are feeling and experiencing are normal, but because no one has this platform to discuss this on, or no one has people to talk to about these topics, we go around just feeling sometimes gross, shameful, embarrassed of what we want and what we desire and what we crave sexually. And that's just unfair. It provides a limited existence to people. And what I mean by that is it makes people stop from exploring their own bodies more specifically and seeing what their bodies are capable of. It makes people stop connecting intimately with other people. It stops vulnerability because, let's be real, sex is a vulnerable act, and opening up yourself sexually to a partner is very, very vulnerable. And when we feel that we cannot express ourselves sexually, all of the other things start shutting down, right? If we can't express ourselves sexually, intimacy tends to shut down, vulnerability tends to shut down, connection tends to shut down. And we're all walking around fucking miserable, edgy, tired, cranky, embarrassed, shameful, guilty, because ultimately we're just looking for someone or something to tell us everything's going to be okay. We are completely normal. Our desires, our body functions that are happening during sex and what they're doing and what they're producing is all normal. I just literally received a message from a woman on Snapchat asking me about pre-cum. What is pre-cum, and is pre-cum normal for men? A grown woman is asking me this. And this is because of the lack of sex education that is brought up in the United States. I grew up in a very small town in upstate New York, and I was very blessed to have a teacher who went there with us when it came to sex education. And she had realistic conversations with us, and she helped us as much as possible, but within her guidelines of what she's allowed to do. And she, I don't know, sex ed in general, when we're talking about it from an educational standpoint, is never taught on the idea that women deserve pleasure. When you take sex education courses, it is, hey, this is the penis, this is the vagina, it's a vulva, this is the vagina. Your whole goal is to either get pregnant or not get pregnant. This is how you get pregnant. This is how you prevent getting pregnant. And some schools don't even fucking teach that. They just teach don't have sex until you're married. Don't have sex and ever. Like, just don't exist. Ignore these sexual desires. And that doesn't bring in religious conditioning and generational conditioning on top of that. And it just makes everyone feel like shit all of the fucking time. And I'm tired of this. And I was tired of myself feeling like shit about my own sexual expression and my sexual journey, because as a woman, I'm told that I'm not allowed to talk about sex. As a woman, I'm told that masturbation isn't supposed to be my thing. As a woman, I'm told that pleasure is supposed to center around my partner, who needs to be a man, and I can't experience any pleasure on my own. As a woman, it is exhausting to try to find the information about my own fucking body, because every single study out there says contradictory information. It's exhausting. And my whole goal on my platform and this podcast and everything that I do is just to bring the information to light, right? Because I'm not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I am not a certified sex educator or whatever you want to call it. I am a woman who's done a lot of fucking research because no one told me the answers. And I'm an Aquarius, and I'm going to die for the answers as much as humanly possible. I'm a woman who's done a lot of research because of all of my own shit that I went through in the last 2 years to even just get to this point of self-acceptance with my sexuality and being open to talk about my sexuality and my sexual expression. And even coming onto a public platform in order to do so took a lot of shit to do and get through. And sex doesn't need to be so fucking villainized. It doesn't need to be this topic that makes us all so afraid to talk about. And it makes me upset every single day when I have to realize that these people are sliding into my DMs because no one else is answering their questions, and they're feeling alone and scared and not normal. And that just is bullshit. And so sex has become this topic that everyone keeps trying to shove behind closed doors in these dark, dismal basements in a closet, whatever metaphor you want to use, because it's too scary to talk about. But if we actually open those doors and brought these conversations to the forefront of life, we would all recognize that we aren't sexual deviants. We are people who are normal and have normal wants and desires and want to explore outside the bounds of sometimes what society deems as acceptable, or we want to explore outside of marriage, or explore outside of our relationships, or explore in general with kinks and BDSM and all of these things like fetishes. It's allowed to be explored as long as it is done with consent, and as long as all of your partners are on board. It's all normal. And trying to bring these conversations to social media platforms is the most exhausting experience of my fucking life. And it is an experience that sometimes honestly makes me want to throw in the towel and quit, because how, I guess my thought process is, how am I supposed to educate people on these platforms when these platforms are literally setting me up to fail and get banned from these platforms? Their community guideline violations, their community guidelines are so vague that they can throw any type of sexual conduct underneath it in order to ban my account, or in order to stop expanding my reach. And everyone can sit here and say things like, well, don't do social media and try other ways. And it's like, y'all, we live in a world that revolves around social media. So to tell sex educators, well, don't use TikTok, is bullshit, because TikTok is the #1 social media platform. To tell sex creators or educators not to use social media to market their education and their resources is utter bullshit. There's no way around it. And I don't say that to be, pessimistic, because I do have my own platforms. I have Smex Ed Magazine, which is my platform to have uncensored educational talks. I have this podcast where I can be uncensored as fuck about my thoughts, my beliefs, my opinions on sex. There are platforms that do help sex educators, right? YouTube is actually a really great platform. I recently just started diving into there because their guidelines and like their community guidelines are a bit more specific, and they age restrict things rather than banning them, which I am fine with. And so there are platforms out there, and trust me, we are using them, but we also can't disregard the bullshit guidelines that the major platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok put out there to sex educators. So kind of let's break them down. TikTok is the most severe of community guideline violations. Why? Because they have the most vague community guideline violations. So what they do is they categorize sexual conduct, sexual sensitivity, and what's the other one? Sexual harm, I think, is all underneath sex, right? And so if your videos contain anything to do with sex, they are categories underneath that community guideline violation. And this causes sex educators to have to censor their conversations. There's a sex educator on TikTok. She has like 1 million followers. She's really great. She gets hit with community guideline violations as well, but she's verified, so they haven't kicked her off. But she has to literally put the community guideline violation, screenshot on all of her videos, because it says in the community guideline violations, as long as it's educational, it can stay on. And yet they still will nail you for educational content. And so what happens with TikTok is you get hit with a community guideline violation, you get an email or whatever, a message on your account. You have the option to appeal. You appeal it. If the appeal is received, your content is restored. If the appeal is not, they permanently remove your content. Now, that sounds great, right? You think, okay, well, they're going to appeal it, it's going to be fine. No, it's not going to be fine, because even if they appeal every single community guideline violation you have, you still have a chance of being banned. How do I know? I've been banned twice. I have fucking 2 accounts on there right now. So these are my 3rd and 4th accounts, because I have been banned twice. An account of 92.3 thousand followers that I woke up one day after posting a educational video about the clit, which was completely censored, by the way, like asterisk where the eye was, all this thing. It was in educational information about the amount of nerves that are in the clit. I woke up the next day to lose my account entirely, lost 92.3 thousand followers overnight, and battled TikTok for the entire month of December when this happened about 2 years ago or a year ago. Battled them the entire month of December, trying to get them to reinstate my account, and they refused to reinstate my account. And the thing with TikTok too is once you get banned, there's like no way to fucking appeal the ban. I had to go to the dark web to find a fucking email address, which they kept telling me the response was, okay, well, you had too many community guideline violations. And I would respond back, yes, they were all educational information as per your guidelines. Can you please tell me which videos you're referring to, why they violated the community guidelines, even though you appealed them and all of them were restored? And they literally just stopped answering my emails. Second account, I got up to that same year. I restarted my account in January, got up to 22,000 followers in 2 months. It was the fastest I had ever grown on TikTok. It was amazing. Boom, same exact thing. Woke up one morning. It was right after my birthday, actually. Woke up and they suspended my account. Same exact thing. Everything I appealed, they reinstated. Then they turned around and banned my account. So now I'm on my third account, which I thought was almost got banned last week, knock on wood. It got reinstated and it seems to be going okay. And this third account has nothing but censored information on there. And by censored, I mean changing the words from clit to smit, which is so stupid, penetration to smenetration, or using emojis to describe body parts and things, because we now live in a society where we can't even call a medically named body part by its medical name. And that account almost got banned and it has been censored. So I had to start a fourth account, which I've started this week as a backup account just in case. But this is kind of how community guideline violations work. TikToks are the harshest because they all fall underneath sexuality. There's no deviation really besides that little line that says educational material, which they still will not accept if they ban you. With Instagram and Facebook, they're both owned by Meta, which is Facebook. It's a new name. Their community guidelines are they're more specific, where they tell you like, hey, okay, this is sexual conduct. But if it's educational information, you're good. So I don't really get many community guideline violations, knock on wood, on Facebook or Instagram. But this is how they fuck you over as a sex educator. They fuck you over with their partner monetization guidelines. So a benefit of having a lot of followers on Facebook and Instagram is that you are able to make money off of your reels. Typically how this happens is you post a reel on Facebook, you get stars. On Instagram, you get gifts. On Facebook, you can run ads. They'll run actual ads on your videos. And every time they run an ad, you get a very small percentage of it, which starts to add up over a while, especially when I was growing my platform at the beginning of this year. And my platform, my reach was insane. I was gaining, literally at one point, I gained 10,000 followers in 1 week on Facebook. Number two, I was cashing in the part on this was how I was making a lot of the money for my business, was I was putting reels out there. And at one point, I think January, I was making around $1,500 from just them placing ads on my reels, because I had put so much educational content out there. My following was increasing rapidly. They were pushing my content. And then all of a sudden that all went away. So basically, someone reported my video or something, and they slammed me with partner monetization rules. What they said, sexual conduct is not allowed to be out there, and you're not allowed to get money off of anything that has sexual contact. What's the word? Sexual explicit stuff, even though it's educational, which is in their guidelines. So once again, I've been fighting Facebook to get my monetization reinstated probably for the last 6 months, and they've denied me every single time because of my content. Even though it falls underneath the educational forum, they review me and they say that I violated the partner monetization concept or rules or whatever it is. And so they have literally, I cannot receive a single dollar off of any of my reels, which is really upsetting considering I put 5 to 7 reels out there of educational information every single day. And that was a good portion of my income at the beginning of this year, was getting that money back, because Facebook had a really good monetization policy, and now they don't let me, even though every single time I battle them on it, on individual videos, which they've done, they will say, okay, you're right. This it does not violate. You can make money off of this, but then they don't allow me to make money at all. They've completely shut down my account to be able to monetize off of Facebook, which is upsetting because it's 76,000 followers on there. Not only did they do that, but what they also do is they start putting a hold on your reach. So I noticed this the other day. One of my posts got flagged. I don't know how it got flagged. I don't know if someone reported me, but it was a post of me in my boudoir photos, and everything was covered. You can't see a damn thing. I was in a white cloth on a rock. So you can't, it's a far out shot. You can't see anything. I even like, what is it? Photoshopped my nipples because they were hard. I photoshopped them out, which is fucking ridiculous, but they hit me with that. And then they went through and hit me with a bunch of other ones. Once again, I appealed, like I was able to appeal it. But basically, they said, oh, well, this is considered sensitive content. So we are not going to allow you to be seen by users that do not follow you. So they basically put a hold on your reach, not allowing you to expand outside of the little box that you are in. And I know that you guys can sit here and say, oh, 275,000 followers or 76, whatever it is really good. And you should be content and happy with that. And I am, but I am trying to educate the masses and I'm trying to reach as many people as possible. And the way I do that is through these platforms. So for them to stop expanding my reach because of my content, even though it's educational, it sucks and it's hard and it is frustrating as fuck for a sex educator, especially when I go out and I'm on TikTok and I'm on Facebook and I see some of the freaking reels that get accepted and are allowed to monetize off of. And because mine is sexual conduct or whatever they call it, sexual education, I'm not allowed to receive anything from there, but I can go and see so many videos full of hate speech, so many violent videos. Holy shit, the violence that's on there, and they're not getting hit with any of this. It becomes very disheartening. And so I guess my point of just talking about this or coming up and sharing this with you is like, if you do see sex educators on platforms, support the freaking shit out of them. Like, seriously. And I know it's exhausting, and it's exhausting for me too, to constantly have to try to shift people from platform or to say, hey, if you're on TikTok, come follow me on Snapchat, come follow me on YouTube, come follow me on here. And I know it's exhausting as someone who is probably my follower to hear me say that over and over and over again, but this is exactly why I say it. This is why I sit here and say, hey, can you jump onto my email list? Because my email list is controlled by me. God forbid anything happen on a platform. I can then email everyone who is on that platform and say, hey, the platform got shut down. Here's another avenue to see me at. Here's another platform to follow me at, or just stay on this email list to keep you updated. I know as a follower, it's exhausting to hear me to ask you to jump from platform to platform to platform, but this is the reason why, because you never fucking know. And it's exhausting and terrifying to be at that level of uncertainty for someone, especially who I like control over things and I like things to be very certain and I like a set path. And I don't get that with social media. I could wake up tomorrow and God knows what could happen. And that's why it's so important for people to follow me on Smex Ed and this podcast and my email list in order just to stay tuned, because you never fucking know. And I'm at the whim of social media and these men who make these like community guidelines, because let's be real, they're all done by men. And you can tell that when male sex educators' content doesn't get taken down and their female counterparts are hit with community guideline violations. And you can sit here and say, oh, you're just saying that. But I have literally, there's a guy on TikTok. His name is Dr. Sterling. I don't know if you guys have ever heard him. He's a crock of shit. He is a male sex educator who talks to men about how to understand women more, how to make women come harder. He tries to talk about orgasms and squirting like he knows what he's talking about, and he does not know what he's talking about, and he is giving miseducation out there. And his platform is massive because his videos never get censored, and yet his female counterparts videos get censored all the time. I have literally stitched a few of his videos in the past, and every single time I've stitched one of his videos to talk about the miseducation and or to just give the information of like, hey, he was right when he's talking about this with squirting, but also you need to realize this, my videos were taken down and I was hit with the community guideline violations while his videos got to go forward. And so there is bias when it comes to the information that's out there as well. And so just be aware of that as you're watching these sex educators. If you see female sex educators, please just show them some love, because they are going through it on these platforms and it sucks. And they work so hard to get the education out there. We all do, because the biggest piece of missing education out there in sex education is female pleasure and the female body and the female anatomy. And this is why it's so hard to get information out there, because every single time we talk about it, we get shut down because it's not about men and it's not about pleasure for men. And so follow these women, encourage these women, even if it's me or not me. I don't really I do give a shit. I don't want to say that. I absolutely love that you guys support me. But if I am not the voice for you, if you don't resonate with my content, please follow someone who voice that you resonate with, so you can just feel better about yourself. Because that's the overall goal here, is just to make everyone feel safe with themselves. And thank you so much for listening to this episode. I just kind of needed to get this off my chest because it's been a very frustrating experience. And I had a little bit of a breakdown last week and was about to throw in the towel because I was so fucking frustrated with everything. But that'll never happen because I'm too stubborn. And I'm not going anywhere. But always, your support is appreciated. And if you can, get on my email list, get on, subscribe to my podcast, come to Smex Ed. You can go into the show notes and I will link everything. We also just dropped a Smex Ed toy list for the holidays. So everyone's always asking for my recommendations on toys, and I have brand partnerships. And so I put out a little guide with Smex Ed about toys to buy for you or your partner. If you are interested in spicing up your love life, there are toys on there for solo play, partner play, everything. I'll link that in the show notes as well. All you need to do is add your email and you will get it in a email form. But thank you guys so much for being here and always for supporting me. I love you so much. I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening to Smex Ed with Amanda.
And some parting words for you today. Remember this: no matter how hard society pushes you down, no matter how many times you fall, as long as you get the fuck back up, they can never stop you. You are unfuckable with. You will win. Don't allow this world to dictate how you show up in it. Don't allow society to make you bend the knee. Instead, make them bend theirs. And don't forget, if you like what you heard, go on to iTunes and Spotify and leave your girl a review. Until next time, my beautiful people.